Robert Frost was an American poet who depicted realistic New England life through language and situations familiar to the common man. He won four Pulitzer Prizes for his work and spoke at John F. Kennedy in 1961 inauguration. Robert Frost was an American poet and winner of four Pulitzer Prizes. Famous works include Fire and Ice, Mending Wall, Wild Cheese, Out Out, Nothing Gold Can Stay, and Home Burial. His 1916 poem, The Road Not Taken, is often read at graduation ceremonies across the United States. As a special guest at President John F. Kennedy's inauguration, Frost became a poetic force and the unofficial poet laureate of the United States. Robert Frost was born on 26th of March in 1874 in San Francisco, where his father, William Prescott Frost Jr., and his mother, Isabel Moody, had moved from Pennsylvania shortly after marrying. After the death of his father from tuberculosis, when Frost was 11 years old and he moved with his mother and sister Jenny, who was 2 years younger, to Lawrence, Massachusetts. He became interested in reading and writing poetry during his high school years in Lawrence, enrolled at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire in 1892 and later at Harvard University in Boston, though he never earned a formal college degree. Frost drifted through a string of occupations after leaving school, working as a teacher, cobbler, and editor of the Lawrence Sentinel. His first published poem, My Butterfly, appeared on November 8 in 1894 in the New York newspaper The Independent. In 1895, Frost married Eleanor Miriam White, whom he had shared valedictorian honors with in high school and who was a major inspiration of his poetry until her death in 1938. The couple moved to England in 1912 after they tried and failed at farming in New Hampshire. It was abroad that Frost met and was influenced by such contemporary British poets as Edward Thomas, Robert Brooke, and Robert Graves. While in England, Frost also established a friendship with the poet Ezra Pound, who helped to promote and publish his work. By the time Frost returned to the United States in 1915, he had published two full-length collections, A Boy's Will and North of Boston, and his reputation was established. By the 1920s, he was the most celebrated poet in America, and with each new book, including New Hampshire, a further range. A further range in 1936, Steeplebush, and In the Clearing. His fame and honor included four Pulitzer Prizes increased. Frost served as consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress in 1958 to 1959. In 1962, he was presented the Congressional Gold Medal. Though his work is principally associated with the life and landscape of New England, and though he was a poet of traditional verse forms and metrics, who remained steadfastly aloof for the poetic movements and fashions of his time, Frost is anything but merely a regional poet, the author of Searching and offered dark meditation on universe themes. He is a quintessentially modern poet in his adherence to language, as it is actually spoken in the psychological complexity of his portraits, and in the degree to which his work is infused with layers of ambiguity and irony. In a 1970 review of the poetry of Robert Frost, the poet Daniel Huffman describes Frost's early work as the Puritan ethics turned astonishingly lyrical and unable to say out loud the sources of its own delight in the world, and comments on Frost's career as the American poet. He became a national celebrity, our nearly official poet laureate, and a great professor in the tradition of that earlier master of the literary vernacular, Mark Twain. President John F. Kennedy, at whose inauguration Frost delivered a poem, said of the poet he has bequeathed his nation a body of imperishable words from which Americans will forever gain joy and understanding. And famously, he saw poetry as the means of saving power from itself. When power leads man towards arrogance, poetry reminds him of his limitation. When power narrows the areas of man's concern, poetry reminds him of the richness and diversity of his existence. When power corrupts, poetry cleanses. Robert Frost lived and taught for many years in Massachusetts and Vermont and died in Boston on January 29, 1963.